There we go. So welcome. Today's Arborist Call is happening on the 29th of May, 2025. Here's the agenda as usual. We'll start off with some updates from the teams working on the new Zcash stack. So the Zcash Foundation, the Electric Coin Company, and Silver Labs. And then we're going to follow up with some research and implementation updates from Kerit, Shielded Labs, and the Electric Coin Company. And then finally, we will open the floor for any announcements or any other topics of discussion that might be interesting to the participants and the wider community. So what is the Arborist Call? It's a bi-weekly call where Zcash protocol contributors meet up to discuss upgrade timelines and process, protocol research and development efforts, design and implementation of new protocol features, and identify blockers and unresolved issues. And the purpose of this call is to try to make Zcash protocol development accessible to interested parties and just to provide transparency for everyone. If you want to attend, you can register at zcasharborist.org. And if you want to present during this call, you can email us at arboristcall@symphony.org and request a presentation slot, and we'll add you to the agenda. Outside of the Arborist Call, you can participate in the Zcash community in a number of ways, such as applying to one of the grant programs. And you can also take part in community discussions in the Zcash R&D Discord or the Zcash community forum. And there are clickable links for all of these at zcasharborist.org. So let's get started today with some updates on Zebra from the Zcash Foundation's engineering team, who's represented by Marek today. Take it away, Marek.
Thanks, Lily. So as regards Zebra, similar to the past few months, a lot of work went to the RTCs required for Zcash deprecation. Then we're still working on supporting shielded coin-based transactions. And we updated our process for doing hotfix releases, and we continued to work on moving the Python test time from Zcash D to the T3 stack. We started initial work on NE6 NE 6.1, and the last thing I have here is putting the T3 stack into Docker. That's all I have.
That's great. Thank you, Marek. Any questions for Marek? Otherwise, we can move on. Let's move on to the Electric Coin Company with Zcash D, core libraries, and Zale. And I think we have Strad on the call today.
Yep. So since the last Arborist Call, last 2 weeks, we last week were working on a variety of things as usual, fair bit of PR review on a number of open fronts, changes from third parties that have been proposed for Zcash, changes needing to be pulled into the various mobile SDKs, changes over in the mobile SDKs as well. We made a bunch more progress on Zale in terms of like testing its usage and thanks to previous bug fixes being merged into Zebra and Zano that we had previously found. We were able to do get further into like the initial Zale testing. That has now cropped up another round of Zebra and Zano bugs that we opened various issues and PRs for. That has let's see what else, got ZView transaction in its initial form. We are considering slightly altering the semantics of ZView transaction, where in Zcash D, it was documented as showing all the detailed information about a transaction in your wallet, but the behavior of it was that because it was the easiest thing to implement in Zcash D, and also due to how Zcash D stored the shielded information, it just stored it within the original transactions and decrypted on the fly. That meant that ZView transaction also decrypted things on the fly. But with the new, with Zale having like a full wallet database backend that stores the decrypted information visibly there, we are considering instead just providing a view over the information that has already been decrypted for transactions in the wallet. So it's still information about transactions in the wallet, but there's a slight difference in terms of view, like when you can see that information. In the Zcash D implementation, the moment you import a viewing key, this API would be updated to show everything that was present in the transaction, even if the wallet state didn't reflect that information, say for balance purposes, because a rescan hadn't happened. At the moment, the same thing is in the case of what we've implemented in Zale, but we are considering changing it to just show what's in the wallet backend, along with changes to speed up how quickly the wallet backend reflects these kinds of changes when a new viewing key is imported. So that would mean that there's hopefully only a slight delta in semantic change, but it is something that would be documented if that occurs. What else? Okay, that was just bugs and things. I think that was most of this last week. Yeah, it was just like Zale and things. There was work done on the ZWIF changes. Chris has been doing a lot of work with the Blockchain Commons people on enabling the ZWIF changes to be usable in Zale, which has resulted in a lot of patches and PRs to the ZWIF changes. It sounds like that's getting into like a pretty close state where I think he's now got a draft PR up on Zale that you can use to like take an existing Zcash wallet and turn it into a Zale wallet. So that's very exciting, and I expect in the next few weeks we'll be, putting that through its paces and enabling that to get into Zale. And then this week, we have been, the core team has been on site with Sean Bowe doing work on Tachyon. So a lot of in-depth, I think we did 3 days of 12 hours solid of R&D. So my brain is a little frazzled, but no, some very exciting stuff happening there. We made some good progress on some fronts, discovered some more issues in other areas. The we're so back, it's so over roller coaster continues to run. And yeah, no, it's some very cool stuff going on there, and it was really good to sort of really get it all onboarded into our brains, so that now subsequent collaboration async online will be much easier going forward. Yeah, and so yeah, that's about it on our side. The other thing that that I've added, that I'm adding to the Rust crate, so specifically the Zcash client backend Rust crate that has the Tor API through which you can do like light wallet connections or getting the current Zcash exchange rate to USD sort of in a private way. The latter, the exchange rate stuff, under the hood uses HTTP GET requests over Tor. I'm now exposing a Rust API for directly doing those HTTP GET requests as well as POST requests, which will mean that people can now use that to specifically do like API queries over Tor to sites if they want to do so privately, or say they're using an SDK for something that it just has an HTTP server. You'll be able to use that over that while still. Yeah, most of it is still managed for you by the Zcash client backend APIs, but this will now be a thing that you can do with that. Yeah, so that's everything we've been working on in the last couple of weeks.
Great, thank you, Strad. Any questions for Strad? Alfredo?
Yeah, I have a question for the Salad team, but I'm not sure if this is the right time or if you want to go with the updates first and talk later.
It depends if it's going to spark on a long discussion. We can leave it for the discussion portion at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, let's leave it for the discussion. Thank you, Alfredo. Cool. So next up is Single Labs with Zeno. Who's speaking today? Do we have maybe Harlow? Not sure.
Hey, yeah, I'm here. I've been quite unwell the last week and haven't, so I'm not very caught up on where exactly we are. Um, so in terms of Zeno, there's been a few issues we've been working on. Propagating errors has been one, which I think we're getting close to having the fix ready to merge. There have been a couple other issues we've been working on. We've also been working on testing RP, I think running the Zcash RPC tests, Zcash DRPC tests, so we can make sure that we are properly implementing all of the RPCs that we are implementing. And then in terms of, we've been reworking the local cache. There is a few PRs now waiting for review and should be close to merging. So we're getting closer on that. Yes, sorry, I've been kind of out of action this week. I'm just trying to work out what's actually going on. I know outside of Zeno, Zingo Labs also releases Excavator V0 this week. So that is kind of out and ready for initial testing and use. Yeah, sorry, I don't have more
That's fine.
information. I was hoping there'd be someone else here as well.
No worries. Cool. Well, let's move on to Zcash deprecation updates then. Some of it may have been covered by the actual updates, but just to recap from the foundation, we're just working on finishing off the last few bits that are missing from the RPCs. And also we've been looking at testing the new stack using the RPC testing framework. Alfredo's been doing a lot of that, and then Gustavo's been looking at packaging everything into a single Docker image. And then, you know, we're starting to finish up these pieces, and we're available to jump in and help with the implementation of say no or Sally features if needed. So if you have anything you'd like us to look at, then please let us know, and we can get started with that. Does anyone else want to add anything in terms of Zcash deprecation updates? Maybe Paku, I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my AirPods somewhere in the house, so I don't know how it sound. So apologies
You
for
sound
the
fine.
Okay,
You
thanks.
sound great.
So yeah, just about this excavator. If you're listening to this and wonder what that is, it's a utility to excavate Zec from wallet files or different wallets. So if you have a Zec wallet file, for example, please check out the Zexcavator repo in the forums. We'll try to provide some links for the note taker for the meeting notes, but it will be very helpful that anyone with an old wallet file that is compatible with this excavator, like SegWallet .dat files, can test it out. Since there are a lot of real wallets out there, and it's difficult to actually donate them for development. So I bet there's going to be a lot of like debugging and things like that, like user testing with real wallets. So please give it a try. I already have. It's pretty cool and simple to use. You know, it's a terminal thing, but it's not complicated to actually run it. And yeah, that's that like the Sunday church announcement for that. And yeah, I'm starting to work on the block explorer thing, and I got it running, and I'll start like trying to use it with Zero and Zeno and see how it goes. So that's like some progress out there, and that's pretty much it in my end.
With Block Explorer, I know there's some RPCs that we haven't implemented, so it'd be great if there are any that you think are like really key. So for example, I can think of Get Network Info and Get Info we've not really implemented, and we'd be keen to know exactly what. I think also Ping. I know, I think we've implemented Get Info, but Ping and Get Network Info, I think are quite similar, and we haven't implemented them yet. So it'd be good to know if there's anything what's the minimum amount of work we can do to get the Block Explorer to work.
Yeah, I'll try to start like commenting things out and see how it can like stop exploding, something like that,
Yeah.
and then like take it from there. I think that will be useful. And I think that Alfredo has already gone that path a bit as well, but a long time ago. So we're definitely, I hope there's less explosions.
Sounds great. Thank you, Paco. Anyone else want to share anything, or we can move on to research and implementation updates? Go ahead, Alfredo.
Yeah, so I have an open PR in Zebra that extended QI test with Salad. So an dummy test there that runs Zebra, runs Salad with Zeno. And that's kind of working in when doing that, we realized that we have a missing RPC method, which is add node that will allow to connect node between themselves to run those tests, which I think is something useful that we don't have. So we need to implement that. And another kind of thing that I didn't decide yet that I wanted to ask Strad is about I need to put an address, the miner address inside Salad. And I was thinking of following by using the PR that Chris submitted of the import.
So the way to
go
go,
ahead.
the eventual way to go about that, the way that the Zcash did that is that the Zcash wallet generated the miner address, and then if necessary, that miner address was then loaded into the Zcash full nodes config for the particular tests that were testing like the
Right.
miner address config. So that's what will end up happening with Zale as well. You'll be generating the miner address in Zale and then pulling it out that way. If there are tests that do require loading address into a different node, which I think maybe some of the minor tests do, I can't quite remember, those will be where there's probably one of the existing RPC method queries on, if I look at the Zale repo, there's probably an open issue there for a missing RPC method that is the one that you would need to use. So
what do you think would be the faster to add the miner address?
For what's available right now, the fastest thing is probably going to be, what you're blocked on is issue 56 import address in Zale at the moment. That's the specific issue that you're currently blocked on. So
import address is, can you put the private key in that method? I don't remember.
If it's the private key you're trying to import, not just the address, then that's issue 57, import priv key. So neither of those currently exist. They are things that are going to be able to exist once Chris's PR for doing Zcash wallet import exists. If you need to work around it in the meantime, then I guess you could try and use Chris's import thing to create a Zcash wallet and migrate it in. But that's a lot of things that you could stack on there, when instead, if we just get import priv key implemented, then that's probably the thing the RPC tests are already using, if they're not already just generating the address in the node and extracting it that way.
So the import, if you want to import private key, is kind of the same functionality that Zcash does into Salad, or it's more complex?
The intention is that it'll be the same API. That's issue
right, but you need, if you want to implement it, you need to put stuff into a database, right?
Yes, and that's the thing that's why I said what that's been blocking on, why we haven't done that, why that hasn't been done yet, is that there were changes to the back end being done as part of Chris adding the migrate Zcash wallet command. So the currently open PR 152 has a bunch of the back-end changes that will also enable implementing the import priv key method.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That was my question from early before. I think it's pretty clear. Thanks.
Great. Anything else on Zcash deprecation updates?
I mean, just same thing from as you said before, but on the Zale side, there's plenty of stuff to implement, and if people are interested in contributing, then just ping myself or Chris, so Natikam, on the Zcash R&D Discord, and we can point you at a particular thing that would be useful to implement, and that is specifically is not blocked from being implemented right now. There are, you know, we're a lot of the things there's a somewhat of an ordering of getting them in because they depend on functionality that the mobile wallets didn't need. So we're having to add that functionality as well. If you're interested in helping add that functionality as well, then even better. So just let us know.
I
Sounds
would
great.
like to do that if you can send me some links to work on.
Yeah, we can. I'll find some ones that are non-blocked, and I'll ping you in the R&D Discord.
Cool. Thanks.
Great. Thank you both. Let's move on, shall we? So next up is research and implementation updates, starting with David today. Who's that? Is that Vivek today or Pablo?
Hi guys. I would like to share the screen.
Oh, sure. Let me see. Can you try sharing? I've paused my screen share. You should be able to share also.
I send the request. Okay.
So stop share. I'll stop share. Try again then.
So yeah, we did some interesting updates across the entire stack in order to promote the implementation of ZSA, and I want to go over the recent things. So first of all, we opened a small PR to the zips. This one is relatively scoped, and it fixes some terminology. It is not as wide as the previous, since most of the ZSA stuff already been merged to the zip repository. So a small PR for zips. Next, we have a PR open for Halo 2. This is basically a PR to set the groundwork for ZSA. It's not the entire content of the ZSA changes, but it's a preparation. This one was reviewed and approved by Dara-Emma and still waiting to be reviewed by Chris and Strad. But it's ready. It looks very good. We did a couple of iterations with the ECC team, and it looks good. It looks almost ready to be merged, pending to final feedback. Next one, we have a discussion going on around the Orchard ZSA implementation. So this one is a significant amount of changes. We started this discussion with the ECC team, and we are waiting for additional feedback on how to go forward. Next, we also did a review of the quantum resilience draft PR from Dara-Emma. We are actively looking. This is in progress. We posted the comments. They are there. Whoever has the access can have a look. Next, I wanted to show how propagating a change look like from the ZSA point of view. So this one is a simplified diagram of the stack. Many things are omitted here, but it gives some sense of what is needed to propagate the changes. So we have ALO2, note encryption, sapling the changes that we do here and here, of course, needs to be backward compatible with sapling, meaning transaction before. Orchard ZSA on top of it, Libra Zcash, and Zebra. This is the official Zcash stack. On the side, we have TX tool generating transactions in order for us to test the ZSA functionality of Zebra. Zebra is just currently not attached to a wallet. So we are generating the transactions, again, based on the changes in Libra Zcash and Orchard using the TX tool. So the Zebra, so the Zebra node can digest them. And basically every change needs to be propagated across the entire stack. So for example, recent changes to node encryption are embedded inside of Orchard, but not yet embedded inside of Libra Zcash, Zebra, and TX tool. Some of the changes, like from recent time, the change from asset description to asset description hash, we also update the Python reference implementation in order to provide relevant test vectors, whether it is for Orchard or to Libra Zcash. So some of these changes are need to be also propagated to the Python reference implementations, and some are not. Some areas are not tested by the Python reference implementation, so it's redundant. Every change need to go the entire route. For example, asset description changes, we already did it for our working version of Orchard ZSA, and currently we are embedding this in Zebra and TX tool. So every change needs to go all the way. It's metrics that we are following to make sure that every change is propagated throughout the entire stack. For example, for memo bundles, the current discussion is that memo bundles will be implemented on top of Orchard ZSA, and this can be done either by us or by ECC team. If it is done by ECC, and they will end up implementing memo bundles on top of Orchard ZSA, we still need to make sure that Zebra and the TX tool support the modified version that includes the memo bundles. So some of these parts can be covered by other teams as well. This is part of the collaboration. Next, so this is like an overview look on changes. Next, just a couple of hours ago, we created a first PR for Zebra. So at the moment, we have a working version of Zebra that can verify ZSA transactions. ZSA transactions meaning V6 transactions that include ZSA bundles. So we created a PR for Zebra, first of all, to start, first of all, to get the help of the Zcash Foundation team in reviewing this PR. So we are not ending up in one huge chunk of work dropping on Zcash Foundation and trying and letting them understand what's going on. So this is a smaller piece of work. So we will be getting the help of Zcash Foundation in review, and of course, the embedding of immediate feedback for these pieces of code. Aside, this PR is not directly mergeable for Zebra, and the reason that it is not mergeable is because it is based on Orchard ZSA and Libra Zcash ZSA version, which are not yet merged to upstream, meaning that even if we wanted, even if we are in agreement on the implementation with the Zcash Foundation team, we still cannot merge it until Orchard ZSA is merged to upstream and Libra Zcash is merged to upstream, aside with any side packages like Halo 2 that we're currently omitting for simplification. But still, this is important to us because we want early feedback from Zcash Foundation team, and we want to embed the feedback into the changes as we go and not wait until the end. So this is for the Zebra PR. And finally, the final update is that a significant amount of effort is put on our side to catch up with the recent changes that was done to Libra Zcash. It's a significant amount of work been done by the ECC team, and our work is to catch up, put our changes basically on top of these changes. So this is what we are focusing at the moment, aside other things. That ends our update, our technical update for this week. I will stop the sharing, and of course, if there is any questions, we are open to questions.
Thank you, Pablo. Any questions? We'll figure out how to share my screen. Oh, very funny. Okay, so if there are no questions for Pablo, we'll move on to Shielded Labs and the network sustainability mechanism. Who's presenting?
Marius, do you want to go?
Yeah. So regarding the network sustainability mechanism, so last week I've rebased the Zebra PR for the ZIP 233 implementation, and it is blocked by the Libra Zcash PR because it depends on it. So the Libra Zcash PR must be merged first, and well, basically we are waiting for reviews for those two PRs.
I think we already reviewed the Zebra one. So are you looking for any more?
Yeah. It has one review, yes.
Okay.
Well, there's three, right? There's Libra Zcash, there's a Zcash test vectors, and then there's the
Yeah.
Zebra ZIP 233.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you saying is still outstanding?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Just so that they're clear on what's outstanding,
Mhm.
which are still pending review.
Libra Zcash PR is still, and the Zcash test vectors. Those two are still under review.
Okay, and that's something that ECC has to review, i.e. Chris, or is that something the foundation can review as well?
I don't think we were planning to review those. I think we can take a look, but we're probably not the best people to review those.
Okay, then we can follow up with Chris.
Are you referring to 1567?
Let me check the number. Yes.
Okay, the burning one, yeah. So it looks like Chris did review it with some blocking comments, and then 2 weeks ago it looks like those were maybe addressed, and then like as you heard in the update, we've been busy the last 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So I'll bring that back into the stack of things that need a re-review.
Okay, great. And then just so we're all on the same page, so once those are reviewed, and since the Zcash Foundation has already done its review, then we can get ZIP 233 merged into Zebra shortly thereafter.
So go on, Strat.
From our perspective, once it gets through into Libra Zcash, then it'll be in whatever the next crate release after that is, obviously behind the Zcash unstable flag. So that doesn't affect current consensus, but it'll be there and therefore available for downstreams to use in unstable form.
I think on the Zebra side, I want to be clear first of whether we can merge it and without any kind of I don't want to make any assumptions about what's going to be going into NU7. So if we can merge it without saying that this is definitely going into NU7, we can do that. Otherwise, it would be good to have some sort of
if it's depending on how, because I've not had any time to look at the Zebra PR for this, but if it is feature flagged and config flagged off, then behind unstable flags, then there should be no problems with things being mergeable, because merging into an implementation is not if it's still an unstable thing, there's nothing said about it actually going into a network upgrade at that point, but having it in there just makes it easier for testing the candidate for NU7. So the NU7 determination is always when the mainnet activation height is set. We haven't set that, therefore we can make whatever breaking changes need to be made after that point. It's mostly just how what's easier for you to manage in terms of like, rebasing a side PR versus maintaining it in, that's up to you to decide on.
Yeah, no, I think we would
But,
merge it given that with those caveats. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Marek, you wanted to say something? I think we were just reiterating that it is mergeable and that we can just do that with no guarantees as to what's going on in NU7 or otherwise. Great. Any other questions or comments on the NSM?
Just from my side, so the Zebra PR is not under the Zcash unstable flag. It is all the changes are under the feature takes v6 flag.
So it is, hang on, so it is not behind any unstable flag at the moment?
Yes.
That is a problem.
Well,
Because it cannot be merged into anything that would end up in a consensus upgrade that could potentially affect the consensus rules. So so put it this way: if it is not behind an unstable flag, then the review needs to be gated on ensuring that anything that is present cannot be enabled in a production Zebra node on mainnet Zcash. Otherwise, that will result in a mainnet fork, and that is unacceptable for pulling in unstable changes.
So basically, everything should be under the same Zcash unstable flag as in the Libra Zcash PR, right?
Yes. Because otherwise you'd also end up with compilation problems in that case if it's depending on things that rely on the unstable flag being present. So yeah, separately from the aforementioned thing, it would have compilation problems if it's not behind that flag, behind that config flag. Yeah.
Go ahead, Marek.
Yeah, so it is behind a flag, but not the specific one. And I don't think we have the unstable sort of flag in Zebra. Yeah.
So I'm having trouble hearing you, Marek. Is there a microphone problem?
You're a little bit muffled. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know that. Is this any better? No?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was saying that we don't have any like official unstable flag in Zebra. The current NSM implementation is behind a flag, but not
Okay,
not
but
one
it
that
is
we
behind a
call-
flag though.
Yes.
Okay, well then in practice that means that it is behind Zcash unstable because you won't be able to compile it behind that flag without also enabling Zcash unstable for the Libra Zcash pieces to be compilable. So I think in practice that means that we're fine.
okay.
Yeah, okay, that allays my concerns.
Based on my recollection from talking about this with Dodger, like back when he was at the foundation, is that the reason we didn't feature flag it was because ZIP 233 requires a transaction format change. And so I think that there was a way that he was comfortable including it, but not necessarily the functionality associated with it, i.e. the burning.
Right, yeah, as long as the format change itself also essentially needs to be flagged off so it can never hit mainnet consensus code in production Zebra deploys. So if that's the flagging that you're relying on, then that should be fine. Yeah.
Operator?
Yeah, is the flag they say the name is NU6? Is that correct?
It shouldn't be NU6 because we've already activated NU6.
I think Mario said that.
It's
Go ahead, Marek.
yeah.
He's
sorry.
talking about transaction version 6. Not,
Yeah,
Yeah.
transaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
But the flag name is not transactions B6 for that PR.
It is.
It takes
So what I was thinking on is that there must be other things in the future that go under the same flag. Should we have an NSM flag instead of transaction B6 flags for this?
That really just comes down to whether we think that we may need to split it off later. That's that's less of a concern because that split, if a split off ever happens before NU7 decision is made, then that flag can be swapped in later for the things that are currently behind the V6 flag. As long as it is
Okay,
all
yeah.
behind a flag that is currently consistent and stops it hitting production, then that's the only concern that I see.
Strad,
Let's take the rest of the flag related discussions offline so that we don't
I agree.
derail this too long.
Sure. I just have one other question about NU7, and
Yep.
that's something that, going back to what Strad said about, an activation height hasn't been determined yet. And, up until that point, we have time to determine what is and what isn't going into NU7. And so I guess the question is, what is the timing around that? Are we talking like 3 to 6 months? Are we talking longer? Are we talking next week? I mean,
we've had that conversation, discussion plenty of times in the past, but so I don't want to rehash that all directly here. But the general thing there is that when I say that we can change anything, I mean anything. In that the ability to change things is locked up once we have a mainnet activation height. In practice, the thing, we will have made the higher level decisions on broad strokes, what's going in, a reasonable amount of time before that point. So before test activation height, and that ties into audits and things as well. And in general, at least in the past, when we found things that need to change after test and activation height, we will make those changes because we still have the capability to do so, because testnet globally is like the consensus for testnet is that it is allowed to be rewound. In Zcash's case, we have various flags, things that basically lets it rewind to some pre-activation state if necessary to like undo an earlier testnet activation. I don't know how Zebra handles this at the moment, whether it requires blowing away the state entirely or if the RocksDB for testnet has support for that. But at least up until now, it's been generally understood that it is okay to roll back testnet to be able to fix bugs that we find, because that's the whole point of testing. But those bugs have to be found prior to setting the mainnet activation height, because once you have set the mainnet activation height, which means defining it and cutting a release that includes that height, then it is possible for people to run that code and follow that upgrade. So at that point, you are now defining a different upgrade that may fork prior to it and like replace it, but you have defined that upgrade.
okay.
Hey. Thanks. Okay, let's move on to Crosslink. Who's presenting on that today?
I can present on that. The big news is that we finished our second milestone on our roadmap. Yay. That means that there is a one-way link from the proof of stake chain to the proof of work chain. And on a technical level, that means that the proof of work the proof of work hash of the block that we think is final is voted, pre-committed, all the BFT related things with an actual network, and stored in the block headers of the proof of stake blocks. So that is sort of a one-way link. And then next milestone, we're going to complete the other part of that bridge. And that's where we first start touching consensus on the proof of work chain. We'll plan another demo at some point. We had a workshop demo in the Zcash Global Discord that we felt went really well. We were able to mine and create blocks with real participants with a proof of authority roster. So that was really cool. And we have been busy talking to staking partners as well. Large, medium, small, very scrappy, very institutional staking partners all across the board, and getting feedback. The biggest feedback of which is that we need to figure out our tokenomics design. So we're putting that at the top of the priority list as well. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, keep an eye on the forum for more updates.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from Mark?
I don't want to open too much of a can of worms here, but what are you meaning specifically by tokenomics?
Delegation, staking, slashing.
Yeah. Okay,
Left.
that's so, yeah.
Yeah.
How the staking and slashing components of this work. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. It's worth noting that we're in a sort of a unique position where 16 million coins have already been mined, and we're sort of late in the issuance schedule. So there's no real precedent for a design that takes that into account. So we're sort of tossing some ideas around. But I think for the prototype, we're just going to aim for the most basic kind of rules possible, just so we can get something out there for feedback.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on then. Does anyone have any announcements today? Any discussion items? Last chance. Even. So that's it then. Thanks
Woohoo, we
everyone.
finish early.
Yep. The next Arborist Call will be on the 12th of June at the later time of 21 UTC. So see you all then. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for hosting, Billy.